Madam President.
The Senator from Tennessee.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I thank the Senator from Alabama for including me today in the reading of Dr. King's letter from the Birmingham jail. Senator Jones has standing to do this, not just because he's from Alabama, but because of his work as a United States attorney prosecuting Klansmen who blew up a church on 16th Street in Birmingham, killing little children. Senator Jones said that all of this was not too long ago. It was not too long ago for me. I remember a day on August 28, 1963. I was a student at that time at New York University Law School with an internship in the United States Department of Justice. And it was a hot summer day and the streets were filled with a march on Washington. And it was about lunchtime, I believe, that I went outside into that crowd and I heard a booming voice from a man who was standing on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial. And I heard the words that he hoped that his 4 little children one day would live in a nation where they'll not be judged by the color of their skin. I'm not sure at that time, at that age, I understood fully what I was seeing and hearing, but I was hearing Dr. King with his I Have a Dream speech. A year earlier, in 1962, I'd been a senior in Nashville at Vanderbilt University. It was not that long ago, but a lot has changed since then. And Vanderbilt, a prestigious institution, was just in that year desegregating its undergraduate school. I was a part of that effort. But even then, Black Americans couldn't go to the same restaurants, stay in the same motels, go to the same bathrooms, even then. And it was not that long ago. 4 months before I heard Dr. King speak in August of 1963, he wrote a letter from the Birmingham jail, the 16th of April, 1963. My dear fellow clergymen, this was Dr. King's letter. While confined here in Birmingham, in the Birmingham City Jail, I came across your recent statement calling my present activities, quote, unwise and untimely, unquote. Seldom do I pause to answer critics of my work and ideas. If I sought to answer all the criticism that crossed my desk, my secretaries would have little time for anything other than such correspondence in the course of the day, and I would have no time for constructive work. But since I feel that you are men of genuine goodwill and that your criticisms are sincerely set forth, I want to try to answer your statement in what I hope will be patient and reasonable terms. Dr. King's letter went on to say, I think I should indicate why I am here in Birmingham, since you've been influenced by the view which argues against, quote, outsiders coming in, unquote. I have the honor of serving as president of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, an organization operating in every southern state, with headquarters in Atlanta, Georgia. We have some 85 affiliated organizations across the South, and one of them is the Alabama Christian Movement for Human Rights. Frequently, we share staff, educational and financial resources with our affiliates. Several months ago, the affiliate here in Birmingham asked us to be on call to engage in a nonviolent direct action program if such were deemed necessary. We readily consented, and when the hour came, we lived up to our promise. So I, along with several members of my staff, are here because I was invited here. I'm here because I have organizational ties here. But more basically, I am in Birmingham because injustice is here. Just as the prophets of the 8th century before Christ left their villages and carried their "Thus saith the Lord" far beyond the boundaries of their hometowns, and just as the Apostle Paul left his village of Tarsus and carried the gospel of Jesus Christ to the far corners of the Greco-Roman world, so am I compelled to carry the gospel of freedom beyond my own hometown. Like Paul, I must constantly respond to the Macedonian call for aid. Moreover, I'm cognizant of the interrelatedness of all communities and states. I cannot sit idly by in Atlanta and not be concerned about what happens in Birmingham. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. We are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects all directly. Never again can we afford to live with a narrow provincial outside agitator idea. Anyone who lives inside the United States can never be considered an outsider anywhere within its bounds. You deplore the demonstrations taking place in Birmingham, but your statement, I'm sorry to say, fails to express a similar concern for the conditions that brought about the demonstrations. Dr. King's letter continues, I am sure that none of you would want to rest content with a superficial kind of social analysis that deals merely with effects and does not grapple with underlying causes. It is unfortunate that demonstrations are taking place in Birmingham, but it is even more unfortunate that the city's white power structure left the Negro community with no alternative. In any nonviolent campaign, there are 4 basic steps: collection of the facts to determine whether injustices exist, negotiation, self-purification, and direct action. We have gone through all these steps in Birmingham. There can be no gainsaying the fact that racial injustice engulfs the community. Birmingham is probably the most thoroughly segregated city in the United States. Its ugly record of brutality is widely known. Negroes have experienced grossly unjust treatment in the courts. There have been more unsolved bombings of Negro homes and churches in Birmingham than in any other city in the nation. These are the hard, brutal facts of the case. On the basis of these conditions, Negro leaders sought to negotiate with the city fathers, but the latter consistently refused to engage in good faith negotiation. Dr. King's letter continues. Then, last September, came the opportunity to talk with the leaders of Birmingham's economic community. In the course of the negotiations, certain promises were made by the merchants. For example, to remove the store's humiliating racial signs. On the basis of these promises, the Reverend Fred Shuttlesworth and the leaders of the Alabama Christian Movement for Human Rights agreed to a moratorium on all demonstrations. As the weeks and months went by, we realized that we were the victims of a broken promise. A few signs, briefly removed, returned. The others remained. As in so many past experiences, our hopes had been blasted, and the shadow of deep disappointment settled upon us. We had no alternative except to prepare for direct action, whereby we would present our very bodies as a means of laying our case before the conscience of the local and the national community. Mindful of the difficulties involved, we decided to undertake a process of self-purification. We began a series of workshops on nonviolence, and we repeatedly asked ourselves, are you able to accept blows without retaliating? Are you able to endure the ordeal of jail? Dr. King's letter continues. We decided to schedule our direct action program for the Easter season, realizing that except for Christmas, this is the main shopping period of the year. Knowing that a strong economic withdrawal program would be the byproduct of direct action, we felt that this would be the best time to bring pressure to bear on the merchants for the needed change. Then it occurred to us that Birmingham's mayoral election was coming up in March, and we speedily decided to postpone action until after Election Day. When we discovered that the Commissioner of Public Safety, Eugene Bull Connor, had piled up enough votes to be in the runoff, we decided again to postpone action until the day after the runoff so that the demonstration could not be used to cloud the issues. Dr. King continued, like many others, we waited to see Mr. Connor defeated, and to this end, we endured postponement after postponement. Having aided in this community need, we felt that our direct action program could be delayed no longer. I yield the floor to the senator from California, Senator Harris.